and integrated parts. The living entities are separated parts and parcels of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, Lord Sri Krishna is the original form of Godhead, and he is the last word in the transcendence. Thus, he is more attractive to the higher transcendentalists who participate in the eternal pastimes of the Lord. In forms of personality of Godhead, other than Sri Krishna and Baladev, there is no facility for intimate personal contact as the transcendental pastimes of Lord at Vrajbhumi. The transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna are not newly accepted as argued by some less intelligent persons. His pastimes are eternal and are manifested in due course once in a day of Brahmaji, as the sun rises in the eastern horizon at the end of every 24 hours. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji. Prabhuji, now we'll hand over to you. Hare
Krishna. So I'll read the text again. Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is enlivening to the self. I offer my respects to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees, fulfilling the desires of everyone with the chanting of the holy name. So we are learning about Bhakti Yoga, the path of Krishna Bhakti, devotion to Lord Krishna. And we learn that Krishna cannot be known fully by our material senses. We cannot see his spiritual form. We cannot perceive spirit with this material body. And the only way, therefore, to know Krishna, to know about Krishna in the beginning is by revelation, by revelatory knowledge, descending knowledge, that someone who knows Krishna tells us about Lord Krishna. And this is our way of understanding Krishna, especially in the beginning of our devotional life. As we go on in our Bhakti Yoga, we will be given experience of Krishna directly in different ways. So this particular verse and the purport stresses on Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, and Srila Prabhupada discusses in some detail how the personality of Godhead, Krishna, includes many different forms of Godhead. God is so powerful, he can expand himself into other forms which are equally powerful. Just like we take one candle and we light a similar candle, they both have the same light, but one of them is the first. So this is the example with regard to Krishna. Krishna Govinda is the original first form of God, Godhead. And he is expanded into many, many other forms. We may know the names of some of them: Matsya Avatar, Kurma Avatar, Varaha, Lord Ram, Lord Nrsimhadev. So these are all equally powerful. manifestations by devotion, by bhakti to any form of Krishna, one can break free from the cycle of birth and death and go back to the spiritual world. So Krishna, Srila Prabhupada explains here in the purport that he is more attractive to higher levels of devotees who are attracted to the more personal and intimate kinds of relationships. The spiritual world has basically two parts to it. One is Vaikuntha. It is all Vaikuntha, but one part is called Vaikuntha, where the forms of Lord Vishnu are, Krishna as Vishnu. And then Goloka, where Krishna in his original two-handed spiritual form is there in the moods of his Vrindavan and Dwarka pastimes. Lord Chaitanya too. So we all have an eternal rasa with Krishna already. And it's possible for it to change. It is explained. Usually it is eternal. So right now, all of us already have an eternal relationship. A flavor could be in relationship to Lord Nrsimhadev or Lord Vamanadev, another form of Lord Vishnu, Lord Ram, Lord Krishna in Vrindavan as Gopinath or Govinda, or in Dwarka as Dwarkadish, Jagadish, Yogeshwar. So the difference is in Goloka Vrindavan, the Dwarka Leela, Lord Krishna is worshipped more as a king in awe and reverence, such as by his wives, Rukmini and Satya and Jambavati and Rukmini. Whereas in Vrindavan, it is hardly any reverence. There is still some reverence, but it is mostly focused upon friendship and parental love and conjugal love, the nature of the intense devotion a man and woman have for each other. So Srila Prabhupada concludes the purport pointing out that Krishna is not a human being who just lived on this earth for a short while as a king and then he left, but he is eternal, and his Leela is also eternal. I don't know about Kenya, but other countries, sometimes there's a traveling circus, probably. And once a year or twice a year, the traveling circus comes, and then it goes to another city or another country. So Lord Krishna's pastimes are like that. They're traveling from universe to universe. And once in the day of Lord Brahma, which is approximately 4 billion years, Lord Krishna appears. So where in the scripture is all of this described? This is very detailed information about Krishna. So we know that this, all the Vedas and this Srimad Bhagavatam, it is given by Srila Vyasadeva, I believe the 17th incarnation of Lord Krishna, a Shaktavesh avatar incarnation, Vyasadeva. And there are certain Vedic scriptures where the forms of Krishna are described. They're called the Pancharatras. So when Lord Chaitanya appeared on this planet not very long ago, Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya, he taught the whole science of Krishna a few times completely. And it was recorded. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught the science of Krishna to Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami. It is recorded significantly in his conversations with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Srila Ramananda Roy. Srila Prabhupada gave us a summary of all these teachings. We have the book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. He wanted us to read that. And it has everything, just like we're reading here. When Lord Chaitanya taught Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami and Ramananda Roy, all these details about Krishna, what he looks like, what the spiritual world is like, it is there. We can read it in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Very wonderful. We are also part of Krishna, but we are his separated part, tiny, separate energy, the marginal energy, the Jiva Shakti. And we are also very tiny Krishnas, very, very, very tiny. But just like a drop of water has all the chemicals that a gallon of water has, so we have almost all the qualities of Krishna, but very tiny, limited drops. About Lord Krishna and his different manifestations, sometimes one can buy software for the computer, and it comes on a disk. Or sometimes you can download it. You pay some money and you download it. And on this disk, depending upon how much money you pay, there is a basic version and a deluxe version and a premium version of the software. And it's all on this one disk. You don't have to get other disks. So Lord Vishnu, Lord Nrsimhadev, Lord Ram is Krishna, but Krishna is only showing so much of his quality. There is, we say, Lord Ram, Lord Balaram, Varaha, Matsya, Lord Nrsimhadev. These are just names that describe a particular mood of Krishna. They are non-different than Krishna, although they act with independence. That is his inconceivable nature. For example, suppose our father, we all have fathers. So our father is a husband, and he's a father. He's also a son in relationship to his parents. If he owns a business, then he's the owner of a business. And if he works for someone, then he's an employee. So our own father wears different hats. He goes to work as an employee. He comes home as the father and the husband. But he is the same person. He's not different people. So Lord Vishnu, Sri Ram, Lord Nrsimha, the different avatars, they are Krishna, but they're in a different mood, or Krishna is in a different mood in each of these expansions. And that many different devotees are attracted to one or the other. Now, in the first chapter and also earlier in the second chapter, it is described that to hear about Krishna, and we have been discussing this, is very essential. Now, one reason this process of hearing and chanting, it attracts our mind to Krishna, and whatever our mind is attracted to, that's where we go, along with the nature of our character. That's where we will go at the time of death. If we are feeling great love for Krishna as Vrindavan Krishna, then we'll go to Vrindavan Krishna. And if we are feeling, most of our feeling, our heart is in love with, attracted to Lord Ram, then we'll go to the planet of Lord Ram. And if we have spent our whole life, and if we have given our heart caring for dogs and cats, we might get a birth as a cat or a dog. Or if we're a very good person, we'll be born as a cat or dog in a very wealthy person's house. So where we go and where we are right now depends upon what we love. What we love. What we love is where we go, and it is where we are. If we can, a man or woman wants to be with each other, and that's where they end up, if they can, because that's where their love is. So by hearing about Krishna, our interest in Krishna and our love of Krishna will grow and grow and grow. Just like Maharaj Pariksit. He was already full of love of Krishna, but he's showing us he was cursed to be bitten by the snake bird in 7 days. And so he sat down, and he's going to be hearing this whole Srimad Bhagavatam, spending the last 7 days of his life thinking of Krishna. And this is what we all are doing. As much as we can, we're keeping our consciousness attached to Krishna. That's what we're doing. And we live our life in a way which is helpful. If it helps us, if our attachment to Krishna is helped by doing something, then we do it. And if our attachment is going to be disturbed, especially sometimes temporarily something may come up, but we want to avoid activities that disturb our attachment to Krishna. For example, someone may begin chanting and then they go to college, and for 4 years or 5 years, they're very busy. They can't do the same sadhana. And that's the way it is temporarily. You can't avoid that, but we do the best we can. And at the first opportunity, we do more. So temporarily, sometimes we become very ill. We get a bad headache or we get a bad fever. And all we could do is just lay there and think of Krishna temporarily. So whatever we can do, we do. And at the first opportunity, we want to increase or go back to where we were. So this whole Srimad Bhagavatam and all the Vedic scriptures are given so that our mind and our heart can become attracted to Krishna and stay attached to Krishna. Does anyone have any questions or comments to this point?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes, it is true. Like I'm saying from my experience, by hearing more about Krishna from the time it was a little coming from mixed background, mixed race background. So you get to hear here and there, maybe through TV. Yeah. So the more you get to know, the more you get to hear about Krishna, the more you kind of know more about him. Yeah, it is true, Prabhuji.
It's very
Thank you,
hard
Prabhu.
if someone loved that man across the street. What does he look like? What does he do? Who is he? You cannot
Right.
love someone without knowing them.
Very true. Yeah. Yeah. All I can say that it is our good fortune now. We're getting to hear a bit. Maybe we forget a lot, but it is our good
Yeah.
fortune also. Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Peter Prabhupada, his main service to his guru was translating these books, spreading this divine knowledge, the opportunity of hearing all over the world. And that's what he did. And that's why we're here today.
Right.
Doing
Very
the
true,
same
Prabhuji.
thing our cricket is doing. The same thing that these sages are doing. We're doing that. We can do it. Right?
Right. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Anyone else have questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah, Prabhu, you said that we either go to Golok or Dwarka or whatever that we have destined for. Somebody who likes cat and dog will be reborn here. But supposing somebody who really want to go to Golok Vrindavan, but instead ends up in Dwarka, what happens then?
Well, if they really want to be in Vrindavan, they will end up in Vrindavan at some point. Krishna will fulfill their desire.
Okay, it can take a few lifetimes before we get there.
Well, usually we go to the spiritual realm where we're going to be eternally. We don't usually take a slow route. From here, if it is our rasa, we will go to Goloka or Vaikuntha or the part of Goloka, which is Dwarka, or with Lord Chaitanya. But Lord Chaitanya did explain that it is possible in the spiritual realm to change our rasa. It's not generally the case, but it's possible. All of these things, they will unfold, they will become clear automatically over the course of time. We can only think about it, and it's good to think about it. But as we go on in our devotional service, Lord Krishna will make it clear to our own mind who we are. Yeah. As we go on hearing about Krishna more and more for some time, we will find ourselves attracted to a particular rasa that we particularly like. And we begin to feel that I want to be like that, a servant of Lord Krishna, friend of Lord Krishna, a servant of Lord Vishnu, a servant of Sita, a maidservant of Srimati Radharani. Yes, not just Krishna. All the residents. I want to be an assistant to the cowherd boy or to Lalita Vishaka. As we go on hearing the pastimes of Krishna and learn about the different rasas, hear about the different rasas, our hearts will become attracted. So that will happen just we'll wake up one day and understand, not exactly like that, but it will grow. Yes.
Thanks, Prabhu.
Very, in the spiritual, just like in the temples, one devotee may be putting the clothes on the deity, someone else is making garlands, someone else is growing the flowers, someone is grinding the sandal paste, someone else is preparing the water cups for the altar. So many different specific services. So it is expected that we will become attracted to doing some particular service or particular mood of someone may become very attracted to Hanuman, how devoted he is to Lord Ram with service and friendship, and want to be like Hanuman or be a servant of Hanuman. It is so much variety, so much variety. Someone may want to have the body of a peacock for Rukmini and Dwarkati, or for Sita and Ram. I want to do that service. Or for Radha and Krishna, I want to be a peacock that they look at. Of course, everyone in the spiritual world, it doesn't matter what they look like. They're of equal knowledge and awareness. They have a different looking spiritual body.
Hare Krishna, Panchali Mataji, you've raised your hand.
Yes,
Please
Hare
unmute.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Is this the right time to ask a quick question, or should I wait until later?
No, it's good.
Okay, so Prabhuji, I'm slightly confused. So in the spiritual world, there is in Golok Vrindavan, there are different parts. There is Vrindavan, there's Dwarka, Mathura. So when Krishna actually comes as his avatar in this material world, so he does the rasa, and then there's the Vrindavan rasa, and then he goes to Dwarka, etc. But so does the same happen in Golok Vrindavan as well? Because in Golok Vrindavan, he doesn't have to necessarily do that, does he? Because he can always stay in Vrindavan. He doesn't have to go to Dwarka or to Mathura. Or is that the case?
Yeah,
Not sure if I make myself clear or not. Sorry.
Well, they're simultaneous. He never leaves Goloka like we leave our house and then we're somewhere else. He's always in Goloka, and he's always manifested in the Dwarka part of Goloka. And then he just a mirror, or not exactly a mirror, but to use modern technology, he clones himself, and he's present in one universe after the other universe, having Gokula. Gokula is the reflection of Goloka. So he has his Gokula pastimes and also Dwarka pastimes in one universe after the other.
Okay, I understand. Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
There are narrations of saints who, because the Vrindavan in India, it is, we see it, of course, but there's another dimension to it which we don't see. The spiritual world is completely there, The six Goswamis in their writings, they describe Vrindavan, and they don't describe it like we look at it, because they're seeing the eternal spiritual nature of it, the dimension of it. Just like if we had suitable eyes, we could see all the satellite and cell phone signals. I'm not sure I would want to see them, but the point is they're there, but we can't see them. We know people are thinking, but we can't see their thoughts. There's so many things we don't see, but they're there. And so there is the spiritual realm, which is there. It's here, right now. And in Vrindavan, for those who are very, very, very advanced in devotional life, which means, the very advanced means they're 24 hours a day meditating on nothing but Krishna, deeply meditating on Krishna. The more we deeply meditate on Krishna, the more our original spiritual nature awakens. Just like when we put a piece of metal in fire, the longer we put it in the fire, the hotter the metal gets. You could just put it there for 10 seconds and it would become warm. So when we do our devotional service and, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and it may need to be like that just because of our past karma and we're entangled in different things. But the point is that the more we can keep our mind and thoughts absorbed in meditation on Krishna, then our original spiritual nature will become revived. And that's the technical idea of yoga. Just like a fire heating up. So that very, very advanced souls, like the pure devotees and previous acharyas, usually in the later part of life when we don't have much to do except meditate on Krishna, they see their spiritual eyes open and their spiritual nose and spiritual tongue, and they're able to taste and smell and see Vrindavan and Dwarka as it is, which makes sense to me. So, these things, they're described in that teachings of Lord Chaitanya. When Lord Chaitanya describes the whole process, it's there. All these deeply mystical, transcendental information, it is there. All about the spiritual world and seeing Krishna. Now, this helps us to appreciate why it is so valuable, why it's essential. Rupa Goswami says we must associate, well, we should associate with all devotees, but we should not fail to associate with the very advanced Uttama Adhikari, pure devotees. Because when we associate with Srila Prabhupada or Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur by reading their songs and reading their writings, then we're associating with someone who is really awake. And it has an effect on us. And it enthuses us. There's a spiritual, mystical kind of contact that takes place. All these different songs, the songs of the Vaishnava Acharyas. And there's also books written that are available by the other acharyas. By associating with them, we have an opportunity to become very enthusiastic. When we hear someone like that talking about the chanting of Hare Krishna and how they wish they had millions of mouths, it means something. When we read the Krishna book or the pastimes of Krishna, how Mother Jashoda, how Nanda Maharaj is so loving to Krishna, it has a greater effect upon us because we know these are really real lovers of Krishna. They're fully ripe So it's nice, and we must associate together. But part of our associating together is to share the association of more advanced devotees. You know, not just that we talk about what's happening in our life, which is okay, or discuss about Krishna at our own level. But when we go to visit with someone, or we meet with other devotees, it doesn't have to be at every minute, but there should be some interest that let's hear Srimad Bhagavatam, let's hear Krishna book, let's hear Lord Chaitanya, let's listen to a lecture together from this spiritual master, so that we can share together the higher association. Otherwise, we'll remain on the same level. And we won't know what the standard is. We won't know what the ideal is. We won't know what the potential and the opportunity is. So it's so important. It's a mundane example. In the business world, there's insurance companies, and they hire sales agents. Many companies, they have these sales meetings. Sometimes they gather dozens and dozens of salespeople, and they have these meetings, and they describe that it's possible you could earn this much. Oh, you could earn $1 million a year. And they tell some stories of someone, some sales agent who made $1 million. So those meetings, by hearing about the potential, we can become enthusiastic. Oh, I want to do that. But if we don't go to the meeting, it might be a lot harder to have enthusiasm, right? So this is part of why we want to hear lectures and read the scriptures, and all these books, they're in audio form now. You can find them on the internet. We want to hear as much as possible. Hearing means to be with these pure devotees. Even if we feel not good, we may feel that we are really in Maya. The solution is to hear about Krishna, even if it may not feel interesting. We just like medicine. Oh, I need to take my medicine. So I'm going to hear a lecture. I'm going to read something. It's my medicine to get out of Maya. So we may think, oh, I'm so much in Maya, or I did this nonsense thing. I don't deserve to be a devotee. That's Maya. That is such bad illusion. It doesn't matter how fallen we think we are, or even if we are fallen. We should never, never, ever give up associating with devotees and hearing about Krishna. Never. No matter what horrible thing we might end up doing. Because that is our way back. That is how we put ourselves back in the fire, by chanting and hearing about Krishna. Some other questions? That was a good question.
Any other question, please? Okay, maybe not, Prabhuji. It's in Path Prabhuji somewhere. I don't know whether he's left. I think he has left. Well, thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. If there's not a question, please, is it okay if we end the session?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. It's just amazing that actually we are very, very fortunate to be sitting here and listening about Krishna. And well, that's all I can say. We are really fortunate, like really, really fortunate. Yeah, very fortunate. Okay, so we'll end the session. So in glorification of Prabhuji, let's chant a big Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Shila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai
Dina Sharana Prabhuji ki jai.
Jai.
जय सर्वस्य कृपा
Everyone be well.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, next Sunday.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
हरे कृष्णा
Hare Krishna. I stopped the recording. Stop.